It's hard to believe, but Skyrim's first DLC has officially hit its 13th anniversary. I'm of course talking about Dawnguard, which originally released all the way back on June 26, 2012. Even now, it's still a fundamental part of almost any playthrough, mostly because of Serana, but we'll get to her in a bit. In this video, I want to go over what made this expansion so special, from the major features it added to the smaller details that you might have missed along the way. Dawnguard laid the groundwork for so much that came after, and I think you'll be surprised at just how impactful it truly was. So without further ado, let's revisit Skyrim's Dawnguard DLC 13 years later. When Dawnguard first launched, the biggest question everyone had was simple: should I become a vampire? Not just for roleplay or aesthetics, but because for the first time, being a vampire actually came with a completely new form known as the Vampire Lord. This was a transformation, similar to how you'd become a werewolf, but far more fleshed out, coming with its very own perk tree. You'd unlock new abilities by draining the life from enemies, with upgrades like summoning gargoyles to fight alongside you, or surrounding yourself in a swarm of bats that would constantly hurt nearby enemies. It added real depth to vampirism, finally giving it an actual role in combat. But it wasn't just your own experience that changed with Dawnguard. Vampires as a whole became much more of a threat. You can now encounter them not only as enemies roaming the wilds, but also blending seamlessly into cities and settlements, lurking in plain sight. At one point, Dawnguard even introduced random vampire attacks in major towns, which ended up causing some issues, with certain merchants and quest givers getting killed in the process. As a result, some players started complaining where this feature was ultimately removed, although you can still enable it using a mod if you'd like to experience it firsthand. What's interesting though is that before the DLC, being a werewolf was actually pretty limited. You got a new look, some increased stats, but that's about it. It wasn't until Dawnguard was released that Bethesda actually added perks that would enhance your abilities through feeding on corpses. I was honestly surprised to see that such a major feature was added at the same time, which was something I never even knew about before making this video. One of Dawnguard's most notable additions was the crossbow, a brand new ranged weapon that hit harder and felt more impactful than standard bows. With slower reload times but higher base damage, these could seriously pack a punch. But what truly set it apart were the upgrades. This DLC introduced exploding bolts, elemental ammo that added fire, frost or shock damage on impact, giving ranged attacks more variety as well as whole new layers of strategy. It wasn't until much later that we saw this kind of effect for standard arrows too, through the Arcane Archer pack, which eventually became part of the Anniversary Edition. Then there's Auriel's bow, a unique artifact that stood out for its special ability to block out the sun by firing blood-cursed elven arrows into the sky. This mechanic would plunge the world into darkness, effectively negating the vampire's weaknesses tied to sunlight. On the other hand, for those who sided with the Dawnguard, you could make use of sun-hallowed arrows, which dealt extra damage to undead and caused an explosive AoE. Fire one of these at the sun, and you'd actually trigger beams of light to rain down on your targets. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the Elder Scrolls had ever seen such an interaction before. And even after Dawnguard, no later DLC or Creation Club content has replicated this. Auriel's bow remains as the only weapon in the game to cause such a world-altering event. It's an incredibly creative feature, blending combat, lore, and overall design in a way that felt meaningful rather than just a one-off gimmick. To round it all out, Dawnguard also added dragonbone weapons, letting players forge some of the most powerful gear in the game using the bones of slain dragons. These filled a noticeable gap in the late-game crafting system, finally offering a top-tier alternative to Daedric gear for those following the smithing path. At the time of Dawnguard's release, Serana quickly became a standout character, and for good reason. She wasn't just another follower, she was a fully fleshed out companion with advanced AI that set her apart from nearly every other NPC in the game. Unlike most followers who simply trail behind, Serana shows a far greater sense of awareness. She can perform idle animations like sitting, reading, or using one of the many crafting stations, and it's all thanks to her unique code. Bethesda designed her to dynamically swap between different AI packages on the fly, blending standard follower behaviors with entirely new ones based on what's currently happening in-game. On top of that, she is one of the most developed story arcs, playing a major role in Dawnguard's main questline. This level of involvement naturally creates a stronger connection. Rather than just tossing someone 500 gold and dragging them along, you actually get to know her on a deeper level. Serana also single-handedly sparked something in the modding community. In an old Nexus post, one user went on to say, EFF, AFT, any follower framework worth anything uses Serana's code, which is called the mental model. It works by monitoring the player, so Serana knows when to do something immersive and when to simply follow and be boring. I use it myself for my follower. Now this comment dates back to 2017, so things may have evolved since then, but it still shows just how influential Serana was. She didn't just change what we expected from Skyrim's companions, she became the very foundation for how follower mods would be built in the years to come. Now, based on previous Elder Scrolls titles, you'd expect the DLC to add some sort of new land to explore. But what a lot of people didn't expect was the addition of 2 entire world spaces, each filled with a surprising amount of content. For starters, there's the Soulcairn, a plane of oblivion unlike anything the base game had to offer. Home to wandering souls and an eerie atmosphere, this place felt almost ethereal. Between the incredible visuals and memorable side content, it certainly left a lasting impression. You could encounter new enemies that were only found there, or come across a unique mount that still holds up as one of, if not the best looking horse in Skyrim, Arvak. For those who might not know, the Soulcairn first appeared in Battlespire back in 1997. Dawnguard expanded on this location, making it the first time players could freely explore the region in a modern Elder Scrolls title. We also got access to the Forgotten Vale, a vast, snow-covered valley tucked away in the mountainside. Here you were tasked with finding 5 way shrines across the area without any map markers in order to access the Inner Sanctum. This is especially rare in Skyrim, where the game almost always points you in the right direction. In doing so, it encouraged you to engage with the world around you, rather than just going from point A to B. No matter where you went, there was always something new and exciting to discover. Whether you were navigating through hidden caves, or facing off against tough enemies like frost giants and the newest members of the Farmer. What stood out to me the most though, was a secret boss fight where 2 named dragons would erupt from a frozen lake and attack simultaneously. Even now, it's still the only scripted twin dragon boss fight in the entire game, and is easily one of Skyrim's most cinematic encounters. These 2 areas brought some unforgettable experiences to the game, and definitely set the bar for future expansions. So there you have it, Skyrim's Dawnguard DLC 13 years later. This is my first time making this type of video, so I hope you will enjoy. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video.